I vividly remember my grandma was taking care of us, and she gave us sandwiches which we thought were cheese sandwiches. And we were like, oh, what cheese is this, Grandma? She's like, cheese? And we're like, oh, that's just a big slab of butter, you know? It's like shitty butter on 2 big pieces of Wonder White, like butter that big. We're like, oh, great, that's a sandwich. My name is Lee Potter Cavanagh, owner-operator of Rosenbaum Fuller. Been in the bar industry for coming up on 21 years now, so do the math, getting old. So for me, I felt like I had this chip on my shoulder when I was young, I felt like I didn't have any cool culture to draw from, and most of the people I grew up around and knew growing up all had these cool family histories and amazing food and culture to draw from, and I kind of felt like a lot of Australians do, I think, what is it to be Australian, and what is the culture? I don't feel like it's strong, and then I guess it was while traveling and being overseas and looking from the outside in, I realized that actually Australia has an incredible food culture, and actually I was really privileged to grow up in Sydney in hospitality, and I was exposed to so much amazing food and produce. And so I was kind of like, well, what is that? How does that work? How did I grow up with this culture but felt like it was shit, and then also grew up with this culture and felt like it was amazing? And then I realized that it was kind of the food culture of the city itself and kind of all the different immigrants that have come to it over the past, however long. That's kind of what I wanted to explore and talk about, is what it is to be Australian. So celebrating, Australian spirits and Australian wine and using the best of those, but then also celebrate Australian food and try and do that in, a way that's really respectful, but then also include Aboriginal culture, try and do that in a respectful way, and also, make sure we're buying off Aboriginal producers. I've got Aboriginal ancestry, which I'm completely disconnected from. There's no connection to culture. It's a really sad story in my family tree, and we only really found out, properly 15, 20 years ago. Before that, it was just kind of rumor and family story and that sort of stuff, and we only got confirmation of where we're from and what our ancestry is and what country we come from and that sort of stuff fairly recently. So part of it's also, I guess, my quest to kind of decolonize my own family history, if that makes sense. I think it has a valid place in Australian society. It's the world's oldest living culture. It's been going 50, 60,000 years, and there's all sorts of amazing ingredients that most Australians just don't even have any clue. Perfect example is there's a lily-pilly tree just growing out of the pavement out the front of our venue that fruits so regularly, and the fruit just falls and no one's doing anything with it. And it's a fruit tree. If there was an apple tree right there, people would just be going to town, but it's because it's lily-pilly, people are just oh, what the hell's that? I had a lot of social anxiety back then and was super awkward. And I think bartending helped me kind of get over that.
That's the great thing about hospitality, right? Because I'm a similar kind of person. We knew each other back then. Yeah. And it was having to jump up on a bar and dance, because that's what we did at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Really makes you come out of your shell.
Yeah, it is. And that's what's great about it. It definitely made me kind of over the years.
And you realize that no one cares.
Yeah, exactly. You just get over yourself, You realize that really it doesn't matter,
Have you come to an answer on what is Australian food and what is Australian drinks and that sort of stuff?
No, but I don't think that's for me to decide or for anyone to decide. That's just something that evolves with time.
But what is it that you feel like it is?
Well, I think respect for produce, respect for the land, respect for kind of what we do, and then just kind of like I said, incorporate Aboriginal ingredients. And then I guess a big part of that what we're trying to do is also be sustainable with our approach to the land, and kind of only take things that are the right things to take, which is also a big part of Aboriginal culture as well.
It's an old approach.
Yeah. And it worked for a long time, Funny that. Yeah. These days there's so much information out there and so much resources, it's crazy. Even in the 3 years we've been open, things have just changed so much. When we first started, to get reliable supply of a lot of Aboriginal ingredients was really hard. There's lots of kind of Aboriginal organizations that are trying to promote, Aboriginal ingredients. Just be careful, when you're buying them, you're not buying them off some white lady that's been to the Northern Territory once. Just try and be mindful. At the end of the day, if you're using Aboriginal ingredients or Australian ingredients, as they should be also called, I think it's always a great thing. It's just something that you should try to be aware of, you know, where it comes from, and acknowledge the fact that, you know, you are, by consuming these things, linked to a culture that still exists, that is mainly marginalized and you know, still treated like absolute dirt and still like pushed to the fringes of our society. So if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna consume it, you should probably try and do so in a respectful fashion. So, I mean, if you're struggling to find an Aboriginal-owned supplier, that's fair, but then maybe find another way to you know, maybe find a local land rights organization and then donate a percentage of the drink, or, you know, find a way that you can do something that's kind of being respectful and showing appreciation, you know. Because we don't really have a clear sense of our own identity, we're able to be really open and open to ideas and change and trying new things, you know. It's something that I always found when I talk to people who are like, you know, Italian or French or Spanish or something. They say, you know, like they love their culture, but the thing they hate about it is that like you can't change anything, you know. It's like if you grew up in one region, that's how you make it. You can't change it. There is no change. You know, it's like if your grandma will smack you on the back of the head, you know, it's like, it's one of those things, you know.